Oh, this is Chuck, and welcome to the How to Defeat Dudes video blog. Now for this week's How to Defeat Dudes video blog, I planned on going back to the same place that I shot the last one in, you know, with the tall grass and the little pond action and the rocks and everything. But unfortunately here in Tokyo it's about 365 billion degrees right now, and seeing as how I'm not exactly a fan of my camera equipment melting, I decided it would be best to go ahead and just film this one inside, on the couch. So anyway, this video blog goes out to Cassie Bales, who asked me the question, Chuck, now do I really have to learn ground fighting for self-defense? Tis a complex question indeed. So Cassie, in order to answer your question, I'd like to fall back on some old Ebonic wisdom from Chuck's mama. And that amazing morsel of Ebonic wisdom was that there's only two things that I have to do in this life. Stay black and die. Now, I'm not exactly sure how many of y'all watching the first one applies to. However, I would venture a guess that the second one pretty much applies to everybody. And you're probably sitting at home thinking, Chuck, I see no correlations with ground fighting. Where's the tie-in? But the point that I'm making is that unless you really want to, no, you don't have to study ground fighting. If you've got really solid striking skills, then I would say that 99% of the time, particularly in some kind of a street fighting situation where the person you're fighting isn't a trained or experienced fighter, they're not going to get past your defenses anyway. They're probably not very used to getting hit, and they're not going to be able to take more than one or two hits before they go down, in most cases. That being said, there are very, very good and very experienced street fighters out there. And for those guys, I'm afraid you just have to train for everything, because they know what they're doing. Like I always say in probably like half or more of my videos, for any kind of multiple opponent scenario, striking is probably going to get you much farther than grappling will. Simply because it allows you to stay on your feet and mobile so that if or when you can create an opening, you can run when you have to. Now, me personally, I was first introduced to ground fighting because at the time I was working as a bodyguard. And I was offered the training for free because it's a great way to subdue somebody without necessarily having to hurt them or break their bones or anything like that, which for, you know, the client of a bodyguard can be really bad if the person that you have to do it against is a fan or something like that, right? And beyond that, I've also got a brown belt in judo from my college days. At the same time though, in 34 years of life and roughly 20 years of martial arts, I for one have never actually needed it. Mainly because going back to the levels of self-defense video that I made earlier, check out the video! I've rarely gotten into a situation that I haven't been able to resolve non-violently. Now, for those of y'all who are crazy enough to actually like my videos and have watched a lot of them before, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record to you. But what matters the most is that, one, you find something that you enjoy. Because if you enjoy it, you stick with it. If you stick with it, you'll get good at it. If you get good at it, you'll be able to use that. You should never let anybody else tell you that you have to do what they do, because that's them and you're you. Now, ground fighting can be a lot of fun. It's kind of like a technical version of what it was like to wrestle with your older brother when you were a little kid. But at the same time, for myself, you know, being tall, having really long arms and legs, high center of gravity, and then in my fighting days really wiry, I didn't necessarily have a very good build for it. I was much more suited for being up on my feet and for striking, and in particular for kicking. And that's why I ended up sticking with Taekwondo for so long. Now, one of the people that I learned the most ground fighting stuff from out here has been my good friend Keith Vargo, who is also the technical consultant for the ground fighting techniques that we used in How to Defeat Dudes. Now, Keith is a huge dude, and he has a build that's much more suited for what he does, which is boxing, catch wrestling, and shoot boxing. So anyway, the point that I'm making is that you really have to do what feels natural for you and what you think you can stick with. Now, beyond that, there are two other things that are also quite important. One is that you're not the kind of person that gets into physical self-defense situations to begin with. And two, that when you do get into these situations, you solve them non-violently. Now, ground fighting is really good stuff to know. But so are foreign languages and computer programming. There's lots of good stuff to know. So please don't feel as though this is something that you absolutely have to know, or that you have to study even if you're not very interested in it. Obviously, the more you know, the better. But if you do everything right, then you're never going to get to the physical self-defense part anyway. See the video! Well, anyways guys, I'm afraid I've got a shooting that I gotta get to, so I gotta go. I'm gonna be fighting with nunchucks on Japanese TV. But thanks for watching, and I'll get another blog up just as soon as I can. Yosh!